All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So the second training camp joint practice between the Jets and the Giants just wrapped up. We actually just heard from Aaron Glenn. Not the best practice from the Jets side of it. We're going to dive into it. But, of course, we had to talk about the injuries. So no Jermaine Johnson still being held out. Quinnen did not make the trip over to the Giants facility. I guess he's still dealing with the calf. And then speaking of that, no Sauce Gardner as well, dealing with the calf injury. Glenn just addressed it after the media. After the practice. But, these calf injuries are, you got to take them seriously. And Glenn did say that Gardner's going to have tests on it, so we'll see. I'm sure we'll get a report at some point. So when we take a look at today's practice, according to Jets reporters, according to Giants reporters, it just felt like the Giants overall won the day on offense and on defense. Obviously, it's not what you want to hear, but it is what it is. Let's take a look at the offense first. So Justin Fields, actually, it didn't sound like he performed poorly or he was out there just looking clunky, confused, disorganized. According to reporters, it just seemed like the offensive line just performed so poorly in pass protection that it was hard to really get anything going. And it's always tough when you're reading about the offensive line not being able to hold up in pass pro, right? We're seeing reports, Olu's getting beat, Membu's getting beat, Joe Tippmann, another, not so great day. He also had a high snap. Josh Myers was beat as well. It's tough reading that, tough digesting it, but, I got to be honest. I think when we take a look across the line of scrimmage, when we look at the situation with context, understanding what happened yesterday, where it just felt a little bit more 50-50, right? Positive reports about Armand Membu, positive reports coming out about Olu, stonewalling certain guys, holding up against Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, and, Brian Burns here. Of course, not winning every single rep, not dominating the day, but it just felt, again, a little bit more on the same playing field, 50-50. Giants won a couple reps, Jets won a couple reps. Today, it felt like it was all Giants. But again, with the context, I legit think that this could be the best. I think it has the potential to be the best defensive front in football when you look at the pass rushers combined with the run stuffers on that defensive line. I mean, oh my. Obviously, Abdul Carter is an absolute unit. I mean, he's doing his thing this training camp. But Brian Burns, we know what he's capable of doing. Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Darius Alexander was this polished, older veteran coming out of Toledo as a draft prospect, so I'm expecting him to be making splash plays here and there for this Giants front. Ledbetter, I was a fan of. So, not trying to make excuses for like the Jets' offensive line struggles or anything, but I do think it's important. Hey, we are literally going up against one of the best units in the National Football League. I mean, you got the Eagles up there, you got the Steelers up there, you got the Bills up there. These defensive fronts are no joke. And the Giants, right, despite the projected win total and everything, that defensive front is it is the potential to be absolutely elite. So that, unfortunately, was today's biggest, storyline coming out of the practice. The Jets' offensive line was just not good enough, simply not good enough. And again, going back to Fields, it seemed like when he had time to throw, he was out there slinging it, but it just wasn't consistent enough. You kind of felt like every 10, 15 minutes, you're getting multiple reporters talking about multiple sacks, and that just can't fly. Now, in run blocking, it seemed a lot better. And as the practice went on, we continued to get positive updates about the running game. Braylon Allen doing his thing, Justin Fields breaking off for a long run. So that was positive, but again, pass protection, not good at all. Now, if you flip it and look at the Giants' first-team offense, Russell Wilson and these guys going up against the Jets' first-team defense, it sounded not so positive for the Jets. There were a couple splash plays made here or there, getting in the backfield, Brandon Stevens deflecting a pass, occasionally things like that, but it just sounded like the major takeaway from today was Russell Wilson had a solid day, multiple touchdowns. Jackson Dart looked solid. I think I know for a fact he had at least one touchdown. I don't know if he had multiple. But of course, we do have to look at things with context, right? Again, no Sauce Gardner, no Jermaine Johnson, no Quinnen Williams, right? No Byron Cowart. Those are 4 projected starters right now for this Jets defense. And 2 of those guys are 2 of the top 3 defensive players on this team. in Gardner and Quinnen. So, I think, again, you want to hear more positive reports, especially coming off of yesterday, right? Can we stack a positive day? But, it didn't happen. Now, despite the negative reports coming out of practice, despite the negative mood, it doesn't mean that everyone struggled. Everyone had a poor performance. There were actually a couple standouts. Number one, Arian Smith. He was making multiple plays today, continuing to impress, continuing to put together a strong camp. That is awesome, right? Because not only are we just thin at the wide receiver position from a talent perspective, but also from an injury perspective, right? Josh Reynolds is banged up. Allen Lazard is going to miss 1 to 2 weeks. We got to have someone step up in this room, man. I don't necessarily want to hit the panic button when it comes to this position, but I will say, right, the Packers have a group of young wide receivers. I just don't foresee them bringing back all of them. They just drafted 2 more in Matt Golden and Savion Williams. Maybe someone could be on their way out. Jawan Jennings. Again, I'm not saying trade for someone tonight, trade for someone tomorrow morning, but it's just getting to be that point in training camp where we're in the middle of August. The season is getting closer and closer, and we have yet to hear about Corley putting it together, or Reynolds. But we did get some positive reports about Josh Reynolds, but because he's been injured, it just doesn't really feel like that same positivity has been there. It feels like that's really died down. Tyler Johnson made a couple plays, but is he really ready to go from like a, you take a look at his career, like a wide receiver 4 to being thrusted into a wide receiver 2 role? I don't know. We do know that, of course, that the Jets want to run the ball, but anyway, good to hear that Arian Smith is making plays and continuing to build upon his impressive training camp. Now, speaking of the wide receiver position, Braden Smith also turning a lot of heads today, not only just as a pass catcher, but as a run blocker as well. It really feels like since the start of training camp, well, I mean, we could even honestly go back to last year's training camp, right? Where Aaron Rodgers was a big fan of Brandon Smith, but yeah, he's really putting out a strong performance. Even in the preseason game against the Green Bay Packers, right? Coming up with a couple strong catches. Like, he definitely looks like he belongs. Again, does he solve the wide receiver 2 issue? Probably not, but he is really, making a case for him to make this roster. And I'm loving every single minute, every single report that comes out about Brandon Smith. I have not heard a single negative thing about him, his performance, this week, last week, at all. There's just nothing negative about Brandon Smith. It's all positive, which is great. If you flip over to the defense, Will McDonald had a really good day, and Jay Tufele, right, continuing to make plays in the absence of the starters, Quinnen and Cowart. It seems like he's taking full advantage of this opportunity, and he's someone who, has seen regular season snaps, being, spending a couple seasons with the Bengals, most notably. But I mean, he was on fire against the Packers' first team the other day. Can he look like that again against the Giants this Saturday? If that's the case, all of a sudden the defensive tackle position, assuming that Cowart comes back and looks, the same as how he was pre-injury, which was winning the job. I mean, if Tufele has looked like this and Cowart has been outperforming him, hey, we might be in pretty good hands. Coming into the season, D-tackle was a humongous need, but this is this type of stuff that you want to hear coming out from a team with a lot to prove, a team that's young, hungry, in the middle of a culture change. Can someone step up at a position of need? D-tackle, supposedly, we are hearing that again from not only just Tufele, but also Cowart. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But yeah, again, top to bottom, not the best day, but Saturday should be very, very interesting. Could the Jets, of course, get their revenge and have it all show up on the field? Saturday night, 8 o'clock, should be a lot of fun. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.